What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Remember the Great Sports Through the Mail Thursdays. I thought with the Indy 500 taking place this past Memorial Day weekend, I'd just talk about some recent returns I got back in racing. These are not Indy racers that I'm going to talk about, but we're talking about racing, so I figured you wouldn't mind too much. Just the fact that I'm just simply doing some racing autographs. So the first return is from actually he's kind of a current driver too, Dave Blaney on 1, 2, 3, and 4. So a couple more of those press pass vintage cards signed for my set. Very nice addition. I want to say I already had the David Blaney, if I'm not mistaken. I picked it up in a lot. But what's a couple more to add to the collection in case I ever need to trade a few to complete my set. But let me tell you about Dave Blaney and his career in racing. Blaney grew up in Ohio and started his racing in Trumbull County, Ohio, and was awarded the 1983 All-Star Sprint Circuit Rookie of the Year that year. He raced in the United States Automotive Club Silver Crown Series in 1984 and won the National Touring Series Championship. Blaney won his first World of Outlaws race at Eldora Speedway in 1987. He won the 1993 Chili Bowl Midget Nationals. In 1995, he also won at Kings Royal at Eldora Speedway on his way to winning the World of Outlaws Championship that year. In 1997, he won the Gold Cup in Knoxville in the Knoxville Nationals, which is considered the premier event in sprint car racing. After that season, he decided he moved into NASCAR, and after moving into NASCAR, he actually kept his sprint car series going for his brother Dale, who raced in that sprint car series. Blaney's career lasted from 1998 to 2016 in NASCAR. He also continued to after his retirement from NASCAR, and as of recent of May of 2021, Blaney was still racing, so he's not completely retired. He's retired from NASCAR, but not retired from racing, where he won the World of Outlaws Sprint Car feature race at his home track of Sharon Speedway, setting series records for both the longest gap between victories. His previous win came in 1997, and the oldest driver to ever win at 58 years old. So, still at 58 years old, Dave's still going strong in racing, just not at the NASCAR level. One thing I do want to point out, Dave is the father of current NASCAR driver and competitor Ryan Blaney. So if you've seen the last name Blaney, that is actually Dave's son, Ryan, that is still competing to this day. So overall in his career, Blaney raced in the NASCAR Cup Series, appearing in over 473 races during his career, the first starting in 1992 and the final one being in 2014 at Bristol. For the NASCAR Xfinity Series, he started in 1998, as I mentioned, and his last race was in 2009. And his one and only first win in that series was the 2006 Dollar General 300 at Charlotte. He also raced competitively in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. He started doing that in 2004 and did that through 2013. He only appeared in 3 races in that series. So very, very happy to add Mr. Blaney to the collection. I like I said, I've never gotten him before through the mail, but I think I already had this, when I picked up my lot of press pass vintage autographs. I think that one was already signed. So we'll move on to the next profile. All right, so this next one also has kind of a unique story, and this is former driver Jerry Nadeau on 1, 2, 3, and a 4th, of course, is the press pass vintage card of Jerry. So very happy to get another press pass vintage card signed for the set. So let me tell you about Jerry Nadeau and his career in racing. Nadeau grew up and was born in Danbury, Connecticut. His father was in the Army, and he actually moved around a little bit throughout his early life. He went to a technical high school where he studied automotive technology, and it was kind of surrounded by racing right off the bat. Even at the age of 7, he was racing go-karts locally, and in 1988, he won his first World Kart Association Championship, Gold Cup Championship, at the age of 18. He caught the attention of talent scouts. He continued racing. In 1991, he took the World Karting Association's Grand National Championship. The same year, Jerry moved into driving cars for Skip Barber. He took 8 victories and became the Rookie of the Year under Skip Barber. In the mid-1990s, Jerry entered 8 NASCAR Busch Grand National Series races for TNG Racing in 1995. He moved to MPH Racing and planned to run 10 races in the Busch Series in 1996, in combination with a full season in the Formula Opel European Union Series Championship. He only ran 2 races that year in the Busch Series, finishing 39th in both races, and did not qualify. In Europe, he drove a partial season, running in 13 out of 17 races for 6 teams, and finished 6th overall, which is the highest for an American driver in Europe. He later declined to move into Formula 3000 racing and opted to return to NASCAR. After returning from racing in Europe in 1997, Nadeau moved to the Winston Cup Series and signed a 5-race contract with Precision Products Racing to replace Morgan Shepherd. During the first few races, Jerry was Shepherd's spotter and worked on maintaining Shepherd's car before the races. Jerry started his full rookie season in 1998 with a group that was owned by NASCAR champion Bill Elliott and Dan Marino, the quarterback. After 16 races and missing 1 race due to illness, he was released from his contract in July. 1 week later, he was signed by Melling Racing to drive the number 9 car. He would finish out the year driving for Melling Racing, and the following year, Jerry stayed with Melling and clinched his first top 10 finish at Talladega. In the first half of the year, he announced that he would be leaving Melling after the season ended. 2 weeks after securing 5th at Watkins Glen, he substituted for the injured Ernie Irvin to drive the number 36 Pontiac at MB2 Motorsports for the remainder of the season. In 34 races, he had 2 top 10 finishes and finished the 34th in season points. Also that year, that was the first NASCAR sanctioned event in the Winston West Series at Las Vegas that he won. For 2000, Nadeau was hired by Hendricks Motorsports and drove the number 25 Chevrolet, replacing Wally Dallenbach Jr., who I've done a video on before in the past. That year, Jerry won his first NASCAR Winston Cup race in the season's final race at Atlanta Motor Speedway after passing Ward Burton 7 laps from the end. The following year, Jerry stayed with Hendrick Motorsports, nearly clinched a victory at Atlanta, finishing 4th after running out of fuel midway through the final lap. That year for Hendricks, in 36 races, Jerry achieved 10 top 10 finishes. After that, in 2002, Jerry raced for 4 teams in 2002. He started the season by competing with Hendricks. In early May, they decided to terminate their contract. He was hired by MBV Motorsports to fill in for an injured Johnny Benson Jr. for 3 races. Afterward, Jerry then drove for Petty Enterprises, where he came close to winning his second Winston Cup race, finishing 36th after the car suffered a broken rear end gear on the race's 107th lap. And then he drove 1 race for Michael Waltrip Racing at the Chicagoland Speedway, finishing 37th. For the rest of the season, Jerry would race for Petty Enterprises. Jerry started the 2003 season as the driver of the MB2/MBV Motorsports number 1 Pontiac Grand Prix, and quickly had a 4th place finish at Texas. On May 2, 2003, during a practice session at Richmond International Raceway for the Pontiac Excitement 400, Jerry was leading the practice session when he suddenly swerved to avoid a slowing car, spun in turn one and hit the wall, driver's side first at high speed. His car then slowly scraped across the wall for 50 feet before sliding to a stop. After he hit the wall, Jerry responded to his crew before he lost consciousness. He was airlifted from the track to a local hospital in critical condition and was only given a 6% chance of surviving his injuries. Jerry suffered from immobility on his left side, a skull fracture, a concussion, a collapsed lung, and several broken ribs. Despite these injuries, Jerry tried to persevere through these injuries and tried to make a comeback. In the fall of 2003, shortly after he recovered from his injuries, he tried to make the comeback, and unfortunately his body was having issues with driving the car at the level that he once did. This was the end of his racing career basically as a driver after this accident happened earlier that year. So this is an example of a driver that had his career cut short, and it sometimes makes us pause and realize how dangerous of a sport of racing cars can be. I mean, this individual simply was at a practice race and he lost, control of his vehicle, and that was the end of his career because of the injuries that he sustained. And there's been many, many drivers throughout the years that have died, performing in this sport for the entertainment, of all of us. So, this is one of those drivers that you sometimes think, what could have been if it weren't for that accident. So, very happy to add Mr. Nadeau to the collection. So we'll move on to the final and last return. All right, so this next one, also postmarked from the Carolinas, and it is one half of the Labonte brothers, Bobby Labonte on 1, 2, and of course the Press Pass Vintage card. So I got a 3 of 3 return on the Press Pass Vintage cards. Like I said, I'm just ever so closely getting that set collected the best that I can. Unfortunately, there's a couple deceased members of that set that will make it nearly impossible to have the entire set complete. But I'm putting my best effort forward to get it signed. So let me tell you about Bobby Labonte and his racing career, along with a little bit about his brother Terry as well. Bobby Labonte is also a semi-retired race car driver. Originally, he was a retired NASCAR driver, but he came out of retirement to compete in the Superstar Racing experience, like so many other retired drivers had. Previous to that, he was retired, but so he's semi-retired, but he's also a NASCAR analyst. You can very commonly see him, on the Fox broadcasts, whenever they do Fox broadcasts of NASCAR events, you commonly will see Mr. Bobby Labonte being a commentator, so pretty neat. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about Mr. Labonte and his brother, because, to talk about his brother wouldn't give him, the credit he deserves just about his career, but Bobby was born in Corpus Christi, Texas, in 1969. At just such a young age, he started racing quarter midgets in his home state of Texas. From then until 1977, he drove in quarter midgets throughout the United States, winning many races. In 1978, he advanced to go-karts and then moved to North Carolina, following his older brother Terry. Terry's advancement to the Winston Cup Series, Bobby followed along. He was, part of his crew, working on his car, preparing his car for his brother. And he was there when Terry won his first Busch pole position and finished second at Atlanta. Bobby's main success came driving late model stock cars. In 1987, Bobby won 12 races at Caraway Speedway, clinching the track championship, in addition to working for Jay Hedgecock. The following season, he competed at Concord Motorsports Park, winning 6 times, and ran 6 more Busch races, finishing 16th at Darlington Raceway. The next season, he ran 7 more Busch Series races, and at his first top 5 finish at North Carolina Speedway. By 1990, Bobby had finally earned enough money to race in the Busch Series full-time instead of part-time. He founded his team and drove the number 44 Oldsmobile. He was successful, winning 2 poles, both at the Bristol Motor Speedway, scoring in 6 top 5s and 17 top 10s throughout that season. In 1991, he continued his second division success by winning the NASCAR Busch Series Championship with 2 wins, 10 top 5s and 21 top 10 finishes. In 1992, he had another successful year where he wound up winning 3 races at Lanier, Hickory, and Martinsville respectively, but lost the championship title to Joe Nemechek that year by only 3 points. In 1993, Labonte was called up by Bill Davis Racing to drive in the Winston Cup Series. He signed a contract to drive the number 22 Ford Thunderbird. In his rookie season, he won his first pole at Richmond International Raceway, collected 10 top 10s that year, and finished 19th in points. He was also in second place behind this other guy named Jeff Gordon for Rookie of the Year honors that year. The next season in 1994, Labonte achieved his second major success as a car owner when his Busch Series driver David Green won the championship. So he was not just a driver but also owner. From 1996, he would continue to race, and in 2007, Labonte would win the Busch Series race at Talladega Speedway in April of 2007, edging out Tony Stewart to the line in a thrilling finish. This was his first Busch Series win since 1998. In the offseason after 2007, Labonte agreed to a 15-race contract to drive the number 21 Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing on the Nationwide Series. In 2016, Labonte returned to Joe Gibbs Racing. So, as I mentioned earlier when I was talking about Bobby Labonte, he is one of those lifetime racer guys. I mean, I think according to his Wikipedia page, he was racing when he was 5 years old in Texas. I mean, that's just amazing that a 5-year-old starts racing. I mean, a 5-year-old can barely, walk, much less race at a competitive level. And Bobby, obviously coming from a family of race car drivers, definitely had that opportunity to race very early in his career. Some of his major career achievements spanning over 25 years in the NASCAR Cup Series. He has raced in 729 races over that 25-year period. He has 21 wins in those races, with the last win coming in 2003 at the Ford 400. In the Xfinity Series, he's raced in 203 races, 10 of those being wins. As I mentioned, the 2007 Talladega race was his last major win in that series. He raced a little bit in the Truck Series as well throughout his career. Some of the major achievements that I've kind of already mentioned. He was the 2000 Winston Cup Series champion. He was the 1991 Busch Series champion. He was the 2001 IROC champion, the 1995 Coca-Cola 600 winner, the 2000 Brickyard 400 winner, the 2000 Southern 500 winner, and most recently, he was inducted in 2020 to the NASCAR Hall of Fame. So, very, very happy to add Mr. Labonte to my collection. I am pretty sure that his brother does sign through the mail, so I'll probably send this card to his brother Terry and see if he'll sign it up for me as well, because I think it would be really, really cool to have those two on a dual card. If I do get that back signed, I'll definitely do a video about Terry. Very happy to add Jerry Nadeau to the collection as well, getting another Press Pass vintage card for the collection. Also, very happy to bring Dave Blaney into the collection as well, with a couple, Press Pass vintage cards as well. So definitely look forward to your comments below. I hope you enjoyed this. Change it up a little bit and threw some racing out there. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave your comments below. And as always, happy collecting.